Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Immersive Learning Research Network's Illuminators Forum. This is episode number 8. And I am absolutely ecstatic to have my good friend and colleague, Dr. Noah Glaser, as our special guest here today. How's it going, Noah? Good to see you.
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's great to see you as always.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us here today. I'm really excited about one of your favorite topics. Your subject of expertise, of which I know you have many, but yeah, this will be really fun talking about sort of this emerging edge of what's happening in immersive learning, to not think of accessibility as sort of an add-on, but kind of building it in, um, up front all the time.
Well, that's an area I'm certainly happy to talk to you all about.
Yeah. So I was previewing some of the materials that you had yesterday, and I'm really excited for everyone to check this stuff out. So without further ado, we'll get going.
All
Um,
right.
as always, I want to just kind of welcome everybody to the Immersive Learning Research Network's Illuminators Forum. The idea of the Illuminators Forum is in this rapidly changing, constantly changing, and emerging multidisciplinary field of immersive learning. The Illuminators Forum shines a light on immersive learning as part of our uh, state of XR and immersive learning scanning and reporting efforts. This is our fourth go around of performing this collective scan. And today, I guess we kind of focus on this question of how do we reduce the friction of providing high quality immersive learning experiences to our students? And there's a wide range of issues that are caught up in here. So I'm going to focus on our first trends volley, which will then tee us up to our discussion with Dr. Glaser. So this is episode number 8. We're going to do these signals on XR interoperability. If things don't talk and work together, you can't access them very well. We'll then dive into the focus on learners with various abilities and how XR, with its infrastructure, sometimes supported through AI, is helping to deliver um, experiences for learners with various abilities. And then a quick discussion about these new kinds of emerging technologies and immersive experiences for which there are no guidelines. And so that presents new challenges for accessibility and how institutions can um, seek to integrate those into their curriculum and providing them for learners. So in 2025, one of the signals that we would like to kind of surface for today is that interoperability across the XR spectrum is kind of moving up the stack. It's going from sort of IT and delivery people responsible for making those deliverable, rather than working them at the device level and platform level. We're moving towards more of a shared meaning for spatial, and that has there's a couple trends here. So last year, we had the Kronos Group advanced their Open XR 1.1 version and their spatial entity extensions, which really focused on some standards for anchors, planes, markers, and a more persistent way of delivering XR. And this means it's no longer just a controller input versus output and making those lined up, but interoperability is kind of leveling across these different dimensions. So these shared spatial primitives are kind of this new layer. What that means is that we have these basic building blocks that a device uses to understand kind of physical space, and groups are starting to agree about that space with other devices, and this allows technologies and different ways of framing and reforming immersive spaces in ways that get translated across those systems much more easily. This is really foundational for cross-platform mixed reality continuity and the ability for institutions with different contexts and different learners to be able to deploy this at scale. So that's a really great thing. Another scan that we saw in 2025 is Android XR has entered the interoperability conversation via their OpenXR standards. And that's a snapshot from their OpenXR page that you can deploy XR devices across XR headsets, or you can develop and deliver around these wired XR glasses that are becoming quite so popular. Google published these developer preview cycles representing a tangible signal that they're positioning around a standardized runtime access rather than working at the API level where they open up a kit and allow other applications to talk to it. So again, moving up that stack, you're starting to see interoperability pushing forward. A third sign or signal that interoperability has become quite a big deal um, across the metaverse. This is from the Metaverse Standards Forum that has been working across many, many different institutions to create interoperability standards for an open metaverse. You can't have an open metaverse with lots of different players and lots of different companies until you start creating these common standards and ways for them to handshake and work together pretty well. So they uh, are converging on a new pipeline that bridges um, an interoperability around these different standards um, that goes um, in a way that really focuses on the geometry, the spatial representation of uh, things relative to one another, because, like it says, geometry loads, but looks the same everywhere is not so easy to do. So, again, looking at the relative distance and size and shape and interaction uh, within objects within a space is much more of an easy thing to do than trying to get everything to look exactly the same in every platform on every device for every learner's profile. So that's good to see. So looking at interoperability, that's one way of considering access, and institutions and educational leaders and immersive learning experience designers are really worried and thinking about how to make these things accessible for their learners. And XR or immersive learning instances are just um, not going to be deployed on campuses or in other learning environments until those things are solved. So it's really cool to see that. But there's other access issues and ways that being able to create an immersive learning experience or an engaging learning experience and provide it for your learners, there are still other challenges and other barriers that are presented to people. And I'm really excited that we've got one of the stalwart leaders in this field Dr. Noah Glaser with us today. So Noah is at the University of Missouri, and he does amazing work with his team and with the community of diverse learners, co-designing and creating things. So I just kind of put a few of the projects that I know that Noah has been involved in or is involved in, and I'm really excited to jump in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Noah, are you ready to share yours? So,
Oh, sure.
all right.
Uh,
Hi.
so thanks for that brilliant introduction. Um, Pointed as always, John. Um, so what I'm going to do is talk a little bit first about my co-design process, and then I'm going to share a project that kind of, I guess, embodies that whole notion. So as we all know, co-design, participatory design, and participatory methods have been in the literature for many, many years, and it has been done in most cases, not all cases, in most cases haphazardly, and typically it seems like there's a disconnect between the theory and the practice of how people are actually doing true co-design.
Mhm.
Um, I say recently, 2022, published a paper with colleagues. Give some shout outs to Nigel Newbutt, Matthew Schmidt, um, both individuals who have attended iLRN and have been active in iLRN in the past, um, where we looked at the inclusion of autistic individuals in the design and development of immersive technologies, specifically virtual reality, video games, and other XR systems. And not surprisingly, what we found is that for the most part, it's not happening. Most of the systems that are being designed and developed are being designed typically within university labs, and they're typically being, if they include autistic or otherwise neurodivergent individuals in the process, it's usually in like a summative way or as a way to collect data and I want to say profit off of these individuals. There are some projects that have been completed that will include stakeholders in a slightly more meaningful way, and that typically looks like formative evaluations in the sake, kind of in the vein of usability and user experience studies, where they might talk to end users at the beginning, they might do some focus groups, and then they might distill design principles from said focus groups and create like user personas and do empathy mapping, things along those lines.
Mhm.
And then typically after that, the designers, who are in most cases not neurodivergent or disabled, will proceed forward. They will create a product over the next number of years or months if they're really fast. It's usually years because XR is not easy to develop. Unless you're me, then it's really easy.
Yeah.
Just kidding. My projects take many, many, many years.
Yeah.
It took me 2.5 years to create a 10-minute scenario in VR as my first project. So you have some insight. But then typically after a couple of years, they gather like 5 to 10 individuals that are representative of their target population. They do some user tests, and then that's about it. What the research shows is that most of these projects die in research labs and in university hallways. There's a lot of reasons for that. I don't want to be the ever-growing cynic that I am, but there's a lot of reasons for that. In particular, some of the challenges is scalability. You create a system and it's hard to get it to scale. XR technologies have sophisticated software and hardware requirements, and simply taking those complex technologies and saying, here you go, doesn't typically work. Schools aren't going to administer it. Special education programs don't know how. There's a technical know-how that is missing. A further challenge is related to the adaptability. XR technologies have long been seen as being promising across a wide range of fields, special education, nursing and medical education, for example, environmental education. And one of the primary affordances is the flexibility or plasticity of these environments, the ability to adapt and mold the environment to fit the needs of the individual learner. Again, that's easier said than done. Traditionally speaking, like the way that works is you have to open up your Unity build or whatever project software kit you're working in and say, oh, well, John needs additional levels of support and he is overly sensitive to stimuli and light source. So we have to go in there and we have to adapt it. So you have to open up the project. I joke in my lab that we spend more of our time opening and saving Unity than we do developing in Unity. Pushing the build to a headset for one of my projects literally takes like over an hour, up to 3 hours sometimes. You're just sitting there waiting. So have fun passing that on. And then you're supposed to pass that on to like a practitioner and be like, all right, now do it. Now there's advancements in AI that's making some of this more feasible where you can adapt the environment in real time. You can build in things. There's biophysiological sensors, but that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to go into. There's a brilliant researcher in the United Kingdom. Her name is Sarah Parsons. I believe she's at the University of Southampton. If not, I do apologize. She used to do virtual reality research, primarily with autistic individuals. And around 2000, what year is it now? Oh my gosh, time's not real. Around 2020 is the last time I spoke with her, and she said she was moving out of virtual reality because it was just too much, and she had been in the field since literally like the early 2000s and hadn't seen much of any change. And as we know, like those commercial headsets didn't really come out till 2015, 2016. Development platforms still aren't really stabilized. So there's a lot of reasons for that as well. But what she does do a lot of and continues to do a lot of is really powerful co-design. And in many ways, her model has been influential to the research that I have done. Now, earlier, John showed a slide of my academic headshot and mentioned a couple of projects that I've been working on, both of which are doing co-design methods. But what I'll say is we have a couple different projects. One is funded by the National Science Foundation. It's called You Succeed. It is a cybersecurity virtual reality video game that is being developed by and with neurodivergent individuals. In my research lab at the University of Missouri, the Information Experience Lab, we have partnered with disability programs, including the PAUSE program, which is Preparing Adults for Work and Society, the Thompson Center's STRIVE program, and an organization in Columbia, Missouri called Woodhaven. And what we do is we provide workforce development training for associates of these various disability programs. Individuals tend to come into our labs and we provide them with a job shadowing opportunity where they can become familiar with our projects, meet the team, see if it feels like a good fit. If it does seem like a good fit, then what we do is the next semester we hire them for a semester. We teach them how to program, we teach them how to develop in Unity, and then they build these systems with us. That started off as like a small pilot a couple years ago, and it has since grown to be quite a large endeavor. We have since been able to hire former graduates of the PAUSE and STRIVE program once they finished and graduated. We've been able to bring them back on board and keep them in the lab. Now, what I want to do is take a quick moment to transition into a different project and to kind of talk about this co-design a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to share my screen now. I also just said a lot of things, so John or anyone here, do you want to jump in for a moment?
Well, our other participants are not able to jump in, and they don't have access to a microphone until later. We're on the webinar Zoom. So you've thrown the ball to me, Noah. Yeah, I'm really curious about the co-design. I love that the onboarding of people into that pause program, um, that training them and showing them how to work in Unity and act, do the iterative design-based project work. And they learn all of that stuff in a relatively short period of time, and they're productive and participating on the team as a co-designer.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really curious about that. And wow, what an amazing program and model you've got there. That's yeah.
What I'll do is I'll actually share this. I'll do the old famous adage. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
I can't hear you.
I can see it.
So this is a conjecture map that I mentioned earlier. I work with an individual named Nigel Newbutt. We currently have this figure as well as a manuscript under review with the journal Autism that specifically speaks to our co-design process. What we did is after individuals completed their job shadowing and initial internship is we did a series of interviews to ask them about their experiences. Basically, just turn on the recording, let them talk. And I won't go into the full detail of the manuscript. Hopefully it gets reviewed and published here within the next year. But knowing academia, it could be in 2035. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but basically, we've created a highly scaffolded environment in the Information Experience Lab. We provide a curriculum to teach Unity and game design. We do a rapid prototyping methodology called Scrum, where we do a lot of stand-up meetings, and we use project management software, Asana. We use Slack for communication. We provide a lot of different digital tools for accessibility, organization, consistency, and providing one another with concrete examples. We also have a wide range of team members in the lab, everyone from non-degree seeking students to undergraduate students, masters, PhD students, and even community members who do not come from us from any academic institution, but community members who are disabled and wishing to work in a collaborative work setting.
Hmm.
And then what they do is they engage in authentic problem solving tasks. These aren't fake tasks. These aren't throwaway tasks. These are projects. These are on federally funded National Science Foundation grants and other funded grants where they are doing hands on debugging, programming, creating systems. And as I mentioned, like it truly is co-design. They're making the system with us. They're making a system with other disabled individuals. They're making the system with individuals who aren't disabled but are fully committed to creating accessible work environments. Part of the participant experiences is, in these cases, all of our participants, this was their first time programming, first time making games, first time working in Unity. So it's like this growing sense of skill development and self-confidence through doing so. There are all these awesome moments. I'm going to cuss for a moment. Is that allowed? Am I allowed to cuss?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is yeah.
Well, one of my favorite moments in the lab is where I'm sitting there working on a paper or something, and I hear someone like, "Oh my fucking god, we finally did it! Yes, god damn it!" That moment of solving a Unity problem, a bug that's been broken, that's been like stumping them, is awesome. I live for that, and
Yeah.
and we have a lot of cussing in the lab and a lot of cussing in our interviews. Another thing that we do is the lab environment is designed to be supportive and inclusive for individuals with disabilities, especially with various cognitive disabilities. We're very open about our own disabilities. I am a neurodivergent individual. My lab project manager is an autistic woman. We talk about it. It's welcomed. It's open conversations. We talk about our struggles. It's relatable. The physical space is quite open. I work there with the team. There is no hiding in my office. There is no like walls up or cubicles. We're all in the same space. We don't use overhead lighting because it has that fluorescent lighting that many neurodivergent people do not like if they have sensory processing challenges because they have that constant hum to them. We have individual lighting picked out by the individuals who are there in the lab at one another's desk. We have fidgets, we have snacks that are dietary friendly. We try and make a really nice, cozy environment. Another thing we do is we have art hanging up on the wall from individuals who are neurodivergent hanging up. What does that look like? What does that lead to? Well, we got our skill development, we have our personal and social outcomes, and we have a lot of people talking about wanting to go into jobs once this ends, once these programs end, which I'll talk about a little bit more later.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is transition to a specific use case. Over the last couple of years, I've been working on a project called The Things Left Behind, or rather, we have been working on a project called The Things Left Behind. This is a video game idea that I had a few years back, but it's never really had funding. I've been pulling this thing kicking and screaming. I was using my professional development funds, my startup funds, my personal funds. I've been really trying to get this thing going. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But the idea of The Things Left Behind is that we want to share queer and disabled slice of life experiences through video games. So the idea of The Things Left Behind, the title is basically the things, the stories, the people, the objects, the things we leave behind. Because right now, media isn't super representative. I'm talking about mainstream media for the most part, movies, TV shows, video games that are like AAA development. They're not very inclusive. You tend to have a archetype of characters and stories that are being told. Now this is changing, and I don't mean to say all media is like that, but it is slowly changing. Video games. Let's say 80s. Talk about like the commercialization of like the Nintendo Entertainment System. Of course, there were consoles before that, the Atari 2600, and going way back before that, all the way to the Magnavox Odyssey and beyond. But I'm gonna start with the 80s because that's a good starting point for us. There's not a lot of queer representation. There's not a lot of disability representation in video games that are being released on commercially available platforms, especially from the big players, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, on and on and on. Again, it doesn't mean there's none, but to the degree that there is representation, it does tend to be stereotyped, especially from the disability perspective. Well, especially from all perspectives. From the neurodivergent perspective, characters are oftentimes portrayed as crazy. You think like the Joker from Batman, crazy. People that need to be fixed. If individuals are disabled in video games, maybe you have an individual who uses a wheelchair as a side character. How many characters do you see that use assistive devices or anything that you're actually playing as? It's not a lot. Again, that doesn't mean there's not none. Nintendo's actually creating a wheelchair basketball game that's coming on to Switch 2, which looks interesting, but funnily enough, the controls look very inaccessible because they use their Joy-Cons mouse controls. So I haven't played it yet. Maybe it is going to be accessible, but it doesn't look like it is. So the idea of this game is that we want to create and share and celebrate the diversity of life at that intersection of queerness and disability. To do so, we are creating this game fully in collaboration with queer and disabled artists, designers, programmers, musicians, writers, the entire team, from top down to the bottom, from top to bottom, bottom to top, is being created by queer and disabled individuals. We have hired some really phenomenal artists and musicians, some of which I'm going to show off here in a moment. And the idea is that each level of this game is its unique vignette. It's a slice of life. It's a 10 to 15 minute experience that
Mhm.
celebrates um, everyday moments from queer and disabled experiences and lives. Um, every level has a different gameplay style. You don't see that a lot in video games. Most of them have some degree of cohesion, but every level is a unique artistic and gameplay and story. Um, and it's basically the stories are put together based off of those front end analyses we did. I mean, we did the focus groups, we did the empathy mapping, we did the personas. Those things we've actually shared at the Immersive Learning Research Network's conferences over the last couple of years. Um, but then we also we've hired and created a full team of individuals who meet the criteria. The first vignette I want to share is called Jordan's Birthday. It is essentially a slice of life from a young child, a genderqueer child turning 7, exploring gender and identity. And they're young, they're confused, but the family is accepting. There's no questions asked. The family is there to be supportive. They use they, them pronouns, and you see the characters kind of talking about it throughout the game. As this experience progresses, basically it's Jordan's birthday, and their role is to, as you control Jordan, your role is to talk to all of your birthday guests. And after you do so, it's that dreaded moment of hey everyone, gather around, everyone look at Jordan, let's sing happy birthday. Let's put all the focus on Jordan. And Jordan starts to feel a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit overstimulated. They have some problems processing stimuli.
Yeah.
As the birthday song proceeds, Jordan covers their eyes and tries to self-soothe and calm down a little bit. And they start imagining these bursts of light that come up in this really this very beautiful, soothing kind of way. And as that progresses, the bursts of light transition to be fireflies. And Jordan opens their eyes and runs off into the backyard to go catch fireflies in this moment of just being by themselves and doing what they need to do. And you see the family kind of watch from up on the porch and just leaves them be. There is no punishment. It's just an acceptance of their child. The next one that I actually have the lead designer, artist, team lead in this call. Rory is an absolutely incredible creator that this game would not be possible without. Harriet is a slice of life about the intersectionality of trans, neurodiversity, and other disability. It follows a trans man named Milo as he goes through a hectic morning. He has a thing he needs to do. He has to send an important email. Does not want to do it. This game got started as a joke with the team and my friends. I consider my team are my friends. About forgetting your water bottle. Doing something, you're mundane, doing something, watching TV, playing a game, forgetting your water bottle, and be like, oh, I'm thirsty, I'm going to go get my water. And then go upstairs, go to the other room, go into the kitchen, and then come back without the water. And that's something I do non-stop. I have 6 cups of water in my house at all times of different stages because I need them in every room just in case. I'm a dry guy.
Yeah. I
And it's turned into this beautiful, it's a comic book narrative format that talks about Milo and his partner and the acceptance and love that they share. And as Milo tries to send this important email, all these things happen. Has to feed the dog, has to make breakfast, has to I just got to show you later. It's such a beautiful game. The last example that I'm going to talk about is called Between You, Me, and the Trees. And this is a story of two characters named Rowan and Ash. This is Rowan, this is Ash. And the entire game is just two people walking through the woods together. Their relationship is not defined. Maybe they're in a relationship together, a romantic relationship. Maybe they're best friends. Maybe they're family. It's not specifically stated. But what is clear is that the two of them are one another's people. They love each other. They've known each other for a long time, and they feel comfortable around one another. And the conversation that they have as they go through the woods is mindless. It's asinine. It's like that ADHD. You're just talking about like, what the hell are we talking about right now? And it also, I always say that it sounds like two people took an edible like gummy and they went into the woods and just spoke about whatever came to their mind. And as they go through the woods, they can also collect things because we all have that crow/raven vibe in our lives that wants you to collect things. So you can collect bottle caps, pieces of broken glass, mushrooms, rocks, on and on and on. And what happens is there is no indication of passage of time except for the main character Rowan. As they transition throughout the game, as the conversation takes place, their appearance changes from being more, I'll say, male androgynous to more female presenting, as the game is a metaphor for transition for genderqueer and trans individuals. And this person that they are with, Ash, is their person. Through the years, through the times, walking through the woods is their thing together. They feel loved and safe together, and they're just accepted by one another. All right. So, a quick screenshot grab of some of the different things, but what I want to do now is very quickly show you all a trailer of this game. I just got this trailer yesterday. It is a prototype. I'm gonna, hopefully y'all can hear it. I believe I have audio shared. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, I'm just a little frog sitting on a log. Just a little frog sitting on a log. Wish I didn't understand, oh, the tyranny of man. But I do, fear you do too. You see, I used to be a man from way across the sea who had a different plan. But that's not where the waves took me. Strip your clothes, come clean. Leave your burden at the sea. You are coming clean. You are coming clean. Oh, the earth is your home.
All right. So that is
Fantastic. That's really
our
great.
trailer. So kind of what's going on? What's next? Well, as I mentioned and alluded to earlier, this has largely been a passion project. We did receive a $15,000 grant from the University of Missouri, a research council grant to basically pilot this and prepare a prototype. We've gone above and beyond. The team that I have created is absolutely phenomenal. I love them all to death. We are trying to hit a prototype phase at the end of this semester, so late April, May time period. where we kind of wrap up those three levels that I showed you all. Um, but like there's a lot of really great things, and there's also some really bad things, you know. So I'm gonna talk to you briefly. I'm gonna go to my bummer mode. If anything, I am a gigantic bummer. So like what I'm talking about, like there's fragility to this,
Yeah.
to all of this. Um, what I have described remains contingent on short-term funding and basically discretionary labor rather being secured by durable institutional commitments. As of this moment, what is it, February 2026, my lab is preparing to lay off 9 lab members as funding for our different projects winds down. The U6C project funded by the National Science Foundation is in its last year. The Research Council grant funding ends in March. So the people that I'm talking about who are going to be impacted are primarily like our disabled partnerships that were recruited through these different partnerships with the disability programs. And these layoffs, they're not happening because this work isn't valuable. They're happening because the funding structures that make this work possible is time bound. And that's not incidental. When inclusion is treated as something that is implemented through a grant rather than supported as an institutional baseline, it's the most vulnerable people, the most vulnerable workers who are going to bear the risk when the funding cycles turn. And what I'm trying to basically demonstrate here is that there's a lot of great possibilities, but it remains structurally unsustainable. Inclusion can be designed for locally like it has been done in the Information Experience Lab, but it cannot be stabilized locally if the larger system doesn't allow for it. It's a real bummer. But I am trying to get more funding. I'm submitting a grant to Unity to continue pursuing this project. And then I am submitting another Research Council grant, which would give us another 15 grand if funded, to try and continue this work. But that's if, not when. And maybe I am a persistent person, if anything. So maybe it is a if when. But quickly, what I want to do is show off my absolutely incredible project team. I got these great individuals. I've also got these really great individuals. Moon is the one who did the music for that trailer. And our team is actually growing, continues to grow. I'm hiring and paying people up through the very end. I'm going to use every single penny of this project and wind it down. But that's where we're at.
Amazing. Awesome. What a great team.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work that they have done.
Yeah. Yeah, that trailer is so moving and so aesthetically beautiful, and yeah, it really creates the ambiance and the personality there. Really incredible. Good work, Rory and team. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm speechless, honestly. I'm not sure what to say. I've got all there's a lot there, you know. Noah, you're championing this and out there creating a space where folks can collaborate and make this incredible experience design that's actually, you know, leading to real experiences that lots of people can participate in is absolutely incredible, and it really deserves to be elevated and the work continued. So I'm wishing you all the best in those grant applications. But just like our interoperability sort of trend that we surfaced here before yours, the structural barriers and the structural misalignments between these kinds of things is definitely something that we need to work on. So yeah.
It is.
Congratulations, keep going, don't give up. And this is absolutely valuable, critical kinds of work. Right? I wanted to include this episode on the Illuminators forum because I do really feel that this kind of work is becoming necessary, not optional. And there are lots of forces who are trying to uh, disaggregate, change, put up more challenges, and make this a more difficult thing, rather than the hard work of making it aligned. Even if all the systems were all for it, it's still challenging. But yeah, stick with it.
Yeah.
Really, really honor the work that you're doing.
Thanks. And there's speaking of institutional and structural logistical barriers, working with a disability population also creates unique challenges.
Yeah.
Payment. Disabled individuals lose disability if they make too much money, and that threshold is very low.
Yes.
So, come on, people. Not anyone here. Everyone here, gets it. But like, we need a systems-wide change, and we've had to get creative in how we pay people.
Yep.
Contracts versus W-2 versus 1099 versus finding a way to cast music production as being buying a music sample versus, or a music licensing fee versus hiring a person.
Mhm.
Person gets paid, but we've had to be creative in how we've handled some of that stuff to ensure that people aren't being kicked off of their disability benefits for being disabled and having a job.
Yeah. I know. I'm working to, yeah, that's such a perpendicular to the purpose of why we should be, incentivizing and helping scaffold people to be able to, do these kinds of things. It's just backwards, 180 degrees.
I'll throw a link to this site. We do have a
Oh,
Google
yeah.
site for this project. Just created the site. Actually, we created because Unity requires it for the grant submission. So,
Great.
working on it.
I'm going to grab that and make sure we put that in the notes when this is uploaded to YouTube. It'll also be on our Immersive Learning Research Codex. We have a space for all of the Illuminator Forum sessions, and we'll make sure to put that in there as well. So I got that copied. Hopefully, we'll get it there. Thank you, Noah. This is
absolutely
really great. I thought I'm still just kind of emotionally feeling all of this stuff. It's really really it has many aspects of my own personal life. I've worked with students with various disabilities and abilities throughout my career as well. Yeah, and so I mean we've shared this too, but I don't know if the audience knows. So this really touches home for me quite personally as well. We just had a couple of the other. We usually do a rapid trend volley to kind of wrap up the show and circle back into the greater conversations. I want to thank you once again for all that, and we'll after the recording stops, we'll open this up for some conversation here. So I'm looking forward to that. And those of you who are in our audience, please stick around. But these structural challenges for XR to become what we want, being able to represent our learning population and make it available to our learning population, as these technologies continue to emerge and morph and change, even while there are people who are working to solve some of these non-trivial challenges, new technologies are arising, which create even more challenges. And one of them, of course, is this artificial intelligence natively created XR. Um, there's XR Blocks SDK there at the bottom on the image there. This is generative AI that is developing these kinds of immersive experiences, and the language to 3D workflows are emerging. So you can just type in the scene that you want. Um, I want a steampunk fairy world to be able to, have fun with my friends from all over the world, and it's creating that based on the language. Conversational agents inside of immersive spaces are emerging. But the implications here, of course, for accessibility and interoperability and all other kinds of deployment for learners is that XR is becoming more adaptive. It's becoming more co-creative. That's good. Content is shifting from a more fixed kind of entity that you're delivering on a known type of thing uh, into something that's much more dynamic. So again, that's going to require what we were talking about earlier, and what Noah was highlighting there is some of the challenges. And no, you're not a bummer, my friend. I think those things are very good for to surface those things, right? Um, that we don't have instructional design standards. We don't have technology platforms that are able to absorb these things. We have an unknown amount of cognitive load in which to address all of this. I mean, just thinking about all of these challenges at all these different levels can really wear a person out, much less tackle them with any kind of systematicity. And the governance gaps, the bias that different institutions have, the way that authors are or are not being compensated for their work. Noah touched upon that as well in terms of, oh, if I get compensated for this, will I still be, able to get my disability, which they depend on in their current situation. So, um, yeah, there's real issues around how that might be governed or work for the different players involved, and then how are these things going to be assessed? Who's going to do the assessments? And what level of assessment are we talking about, formative or summative, right?
Yeah.
So the question, that kind of rises in these XR generated immersive spaces is when they generate themselves, then what counts as design and who's putting in those design standards as these things proliferate. So it's a raises a pretty big question. Um, Another aspect of this is that these world models that you're looking at being developed, digital twins and world, we've gone from kind of maturing infrastructures for being able to create high fidelity representations of real systems. Um, and now AI is starting to develop environments. This also creates another interoperability or challenge for XR deployers and institutions to be able to consider what that means for development and deployment. So I think that's all I have for. Oh, nope. Um, I just wanted to do a pitch that the registration for our iLRN 2026, which will be our 12th international conference, will be online June 14th and 15th. That's worldwide. It'll be a 48-hour extravaganza, depending on your time zone. We're available. We're presenting from and working with our immersive learning experts across the spectrum there. And then leading to those of us who get to be there in Athens, Greece at the national and Capodistrian University of Athens, where we will formally introduce this open society for immersive learning. We've gone from building the scholarship between academics and educators and artists and designers of immersive learning and creating that professional infrastructure. And while we're still doing that, we want to start focusing also on how do we make impact with this professional work so that people all over the world can benefit most from high quality immersive learning. So that's coming up. Check out our website, immersivelrn.org, and register for that. We'll be coming up in a few weeks. We won't have an immersive learning weekly webinar for the Futures Illuminators Forum next week, as I will be in India attending Google.org's Impact Summit. So I'm really excited to be able to speak with potential funders about the potential for immersive learning to have that kind of impact, have the kind of impact that we all envision. So I want to thank Dr. Noah Glaser and his team once again for showcasing their incredible work. Thank you. Those of you on YouTube, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. You know the drill. Thanks. Take care. Bye.